So they're taking a step back just to see where the demand's going to go, where we should fit into that. But it's not closed for mining. You know, it's two-thirds of our operation. 159 megawatts is quite big.
Hey folks, Flo here with Blockchain North. We're at the Canadian Blockchain Consortium's very first event in Quebec, all in French in terms of the panels here. It's called Bitcoin Mining in Quebec. Tout un programme, as they would say in French, a whole topic. So I'm here with Sébastien Ouellette from BitFarms. I'm going to ask you first to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in like 30 seconds.
Perfect. My name is Sébastien Ouellette. I work at BitFarm for the past 5 years. I'm Director of Operations, so I'm really in charge of the deployments of the miner, day-to-day operation, balance load, and all that.
Nice and short. So what does BitFarms actually do? Canadian company, I believe, and what is its presence in Quebec and in Canada?
Yeah, of course. So we originated here in Quebec. So we have 159 megawatts of energy that we use to do mining, but we're also implemented in Washington State, Paraguay, and Argentina now.
Okay, nice and short as well. Thank you very much. I'm going to be able to ask a lot of questions. One question I want to ask, because you said mining, but you're talking about Bitcoin mining, of course. What is Bitcoin mining in 20 seconds or less?
Yeah, well, Bitcoin mining is the process of validating the transaction, and when we do that, we get rewarded in Bitcoin. So it's really having computers in racks that are going to process all those transactions and that are going to keep, well, the blockchain alive and working.
And it's fair to say that there's a good amount of skepticism about crypto and Bitcoin. People will often ask, why do we need Bitcoin or why do we need crypto? How do you answer that, again, in 30 seconds?
Yeah, well, in some country, you know, Bitcoin is literally saving life in country like Argentina, where there's more than 100% inflation, or in Venezuela or Turkey, things like that. The narrative is wholly different than here. Here it's just a better way of saving your money. Sometimes it's a speculative asset, but in some country it makes a whole difference for people to actually have, it's the only way that they have to actually save some money and not getting devaluated. So it depends where you are. I guess the narrative is different.
That's a fair point. And so we're here in Quebec. You have a presence here in Quebec. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that and then explain how that integrates in a province like Quebec where there's so much energy production, especially hydro. What's the relationship?
Exact. So in Quebec, 100% of the energy is hydro, as you said, and it's really the heart of our operation. We started here as a very little company a few years ago, and we developed, and then we started to go internationally. But it's our main hub and where our presence is the biggest, but we're looking for any opportunity to grow.
I read this week that Bitcoin adoption or Bitcoin investment is the highest in Quebec than in any other province. I don't know if you knew that, and if so, why do you think that is?
I did not know that, but I guess it probably comes from the fact that there's a lot of mining going on here in Quebec because of the relatively cheap price of electricity and the abundance. So maybe that's one of but I was not aware that it was the place in Canada where...
We'll send you the statistic. What is the government's stance on Bitcoin mining? I feel like we've gone back and forth. I feel like a few years ago there was a lot of collaboration with Hydro-Quebec, its data centers, etc. And maybe now they've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. Tell us about that.
Exactly. So right now there's what we call a moratorium on the electricity for crypto miners. So a moratorium. So they're really looking to see what's the actual capacity of Hydro-Quebec, how much it's going to grow in the future. They want to know exactly what they want to give as space for the crypto industry, because there's also a lot of other industry that are using constantly more energy, such as the electric car and all that. So they're taking a step back just to see where the demand's going to go, where we should fit into that. But it's not closed for mining. You know, it's two-thirds of our operation. 159 megawatts is quite big.
And you were just on a panel talking about the advantages of Bitcoin. There's of course a lot of, let's say, preconceptions about, Bitcoin is bad for the environment or mining is bad for the environment. What's the reality on this, and what are the advantages for communities and for the broader economy of mining Bitcoin?
Yeah, exactly. So our stance on that is different from what most people think, because when you get to know how Bitcoin work and how we have benefit to the grid, it's a wholly different story. So basically in Quebec, the way that it works, we use all the energy that is unused, right? And in moments where there's high demand for energy, we do what is called curtailment, délestage, and we stop operating for the couple hours that there's high peak demand. So that way we really are there to maximize the profit of Hydro-Québec or the city that are the distributor of it. So we, in fact, just use electricity that otherwise would be wasted, because there's no way to store that energy, right? There's no battery, there's no other way. So if it's not consumed, it's lost. So we're there to monetize every kilowatt hour that are otherwise not used.
To monetize it, yeah, exactly. And correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understand it is the benefit is basically that you're offering baseload demand. Basically, you're offering guaranteed demand, let's say a minimum level of demand for those who are building energy capacity, but at the same time also flexibility for maybe when there's more demand, like it's very cold here or very hot or anything else, you're able to sort of délestage, like offload your energy back to the grid. Is that correct?
Well, since we're not the producer, we just stop using it, right? So we're not sending it back to the grid, but that way they can really reduce the peak demand, because...
And use the capacity for other things.
Exactly. So that way they monetize it, and everybody's winning in that scenario. In terms of the city distributor, I was talking earlier, but the city of Sherbrooke, for example, is our biggest hub, 94 megawatts. Our electricity bill for 1 year is about $40 million. And of that, 10 million goes directly to the city budget as profit. So last year, it was one of the only cities in Quebec where they didn't raise tax. And it's not just because of us, but we're helping in that scenario, and they're very happy that we're working with them.
Great example to finish on. Thank you very much, Sebastien. It's a pleasure speaking with you.